My name is Cameron Hayes, and I am 30 years old. The day my aunt told me I would never have enough, we were at a family reunion at my grandmother's house. The annual gathering where everyone showed off. Compared. Competed. The event I had learned to dread but still attended out of obligation. My Aunt Patricia was holding court in the living room. Surrounded by cousins. Extended family. People who hung on her every word. She was the successful one. The wealthy one. The one who had married well. Invest wisely. Built the life everyone admired. Her husband owned a car dealership. Multiple locations. They lived in a 5-bedroom house. Drove luxury cars. Took elaborate vacations. Wore expensive clothes. Everything about them screamed success. Wealth. Status. I sat on the periphery. Watching. Listening. Not participating. Just observing the performance. My cousin Jessica was showing photos from her recent trip to Paris. My aunt was commenting. Giving advice. Explaining where to stay. What to see. How to travel properly. Like she was an expert on everything. Then the conversation shifted. Someone asked about my life. What I was doing. How things were going. Cameron works at a non-profit, my aunt said before I could answer. Doing community outreach. Very noble. Very impractical. The tone was dismissive. Mocking. Like working at a non-profit was cute but ultimately meaningless. It pays the bills, I said quietly. Barely, I imagine. Patricia smiled. That condescending smile. How much do those jobs pay? 30,000? 35? Around there. She shook her head. Turned to the others. This is what happens when you prioritize passion over profit. You end up living paycheck to paycheck. No savings. No security. Just hope and good intentions. People laughed. Nodded. Agreed. I was the cautionary tale. An example of what not to do. Cameron, you are 30 now. When are you going to get serious? Get a real job. Build something. I have something built. Like what? A studio apartment? A beat-up car? A bank account with maybe $3,000? She was close. My apartment was small. My car was old. But she did not know about the bank account. I had no idea what I had been building quietly for years. I manage fine. Fine is not success. Fine is mediocrity. You deserve better. But you will never have it unless you change. Unless you stop working for causes and start working for yourself. Maybe I am working for myself. Just in a different way. She leaned closer. Lowered her voice. But everyone could still hear. Cameron, I say this because I care. You will never have enough. Not the way you are going. You will always be scrambling. Always one emergency away from disaster. That is no way to live. Then how should I live? Like us. Like people who plan. Who invests. Who builds wealth that lasts. Not just paycheck to paycheck survival. I will keep that in mind. She stood. Patted my shoulder. Like I was a child who needed guidance. I am here if you ever want advice. Real advice. About how to turn your life around. I smiled. Nodded. Said nothing. Just watched her walk away. Still performing. Still convinced she had all the answers. Inside, I laughed. Quietly. Because she had no idea. No idea what I had built. What I had been doing while she was busy showing off. What was coming. People think success is loud. Visible. Obvious. Sometimes it is. But sometimes, the most successful people are the ones you never suspect. The ones who live modestly. Spend carefully. Build wealth without advertising it. I had been building something for 8 years. Since I was 22. Fresh out of college. Starting my first job. My salary was modest. $32,000 as a program coordinator at a youth development nonprofit. Not impressive. But I loved the work. Helping kids. Building programs. Making a difference. I also lived frugally. Rented a small studio. $1,500 a month. All utilities included. Drove a used car. Cooked at home. Did not spend on things I did not need. Lived below my means. And I saved. Aggressively. 20% of every paycheck. Put it into investments. Index funds. ETFs. Stocks. I taught myself. Read books. Followed investors. Learned how markets worked. My grandmother had left me a small inheritance when I was 21. $10,000. Most people would have spent it. I invested it. Let it grow. Added to it regularly. After 2 years, my portfolio was worth $30,000. After 4 years, $70,000. After 6 years, $140,000. After 8 years, close to $300,000. Compound interest. Smart investing. Patience. Not spending on things that depreciated. Living modestly while building wealth quietly. But I never told anyone. Not my family. Not my friends. Not the people who assumed I was struggling because I worked at a non-profit and drove an old car. I let them assume. Because their assumptions revealed who they were. How they measured worth. What they valued. My Aunt Patricia valued appearance. Status. The ability to show off. To prove she was successful. To look down on people she thought were beneath her. I valued freedom. Security. The ability to live life on my own terms without needing approval or validation from people who did not understand what real wealth meant. Then something changed. Something that brought my hidden success directly into my aunt's life. In a way she never saw coming. 6 months after that family gathering, I got a job offer. Not at another nonprofit. At a private foundation. The Riverside Community Foundation. One of the largest philanthropic organizations in the state. They were looking for a director of grants. Someone to evaluate funding requests. Decide which organizations received money. Manage relationships with grantees. Oversee millions of dollars in annual giving. The salary was substantial. $95,000. Plus benefits. Plus access to networking. Influence. Decision-making power. I applied. Interviewed. Got the job. Started 3 months later. My family did not know. I did not announce it. Just quietly transitioned. Kept living in my small apartment. I kept driving my old car. I kept living modestly. But my role changed. My responsibilities changed. And suddenly, I had power. The power to approve or deny funding requests. To open doors. To change organizational trajectories. Part of my job was evaluating loan requests. The foundation had a small business loan program. Zero-interest loans for entrepreneurs from underserved communities. Maximum $50,000. Designed to help people start businesses. Build wealth. Create opportunities. Applications came in regularly. I reviewed them. Evaluated business plans. Assessed viability. Made recommendations to the board. Most of the time, my recommendations were approved. I had a good track record. The board trusted my judgment. One morning, 6 months into my new job, I was reviewing applications. Reading business plans. Taking notes. Then I saw a name that made me stop. Patricia Morrison. My aunt. Applying for a $50,000 loan. I opened the application. Read it carefully. She wanted to open a boutique clothing store. High-end fashion. Upscale neighborhood. She had done market research. Had a business plan. Projected revenues. Everything looked professional. Polished. But there were problems. Big problems. Her financial disclosures showed significant debt. Maxed credit cards. A second mortgage. Car loans. They were living beyond their means. Had been for years. The boutique was not a passion project. It was a desperate attempt to generate income. Everything I had assumed about their wealth was wrong. They looked successful. But they were drowning. The house. The cars. The vacations. All funded by debt. By pretending. By maintaining an image they could not afford. And now my aunt was asking for money. From a foundation. From an organization that funded community development. From a program designed for underserved entrepreneurs. From me. Though she did not know it yet. I followed protocol. Reviewed the application objectively. Evaluated the business plan. Assessed the financial stability. Checked references. Did my due diligence. The business plan was decent. Not great. But decent. The market research was thorough. She had identified a gap. A need. An opportunity. But the financials were concerning. Very concerning. High debt. Low liquidity. No emergency fund. If the business struggled even slightly, she would default. The foundation would lose money. The program would be undermined. I could not recommend approval. Not based on the numbers. Not based on the risk. Not based on the foundation's mission to serve people who truly needed help. Not people who had mismanaged wealth and needed a bailout. But I also could not reject it outright. Not without due diligence. So I scheduled an interview. Required for all applicants seeking over $25,000. Standard procedure. I sent the invitation. Formal. Professional. Requesting she come to the foundation office for an interview with the grants committee. Me. 2 other staff members. And a board representative. She confirmed. Did not ask who would be interviewing her. Just confirmed the time. Arrived prepared. The day of the interview, I arrived early. Prepared my notes. My questions. My evaluation criteria. The other committee members. Arrived. We reviewed the application together. They had concerns too. About the debt. The risk. The fit with the foundation's mission. Then Patricia walked in. Confidence. Polished. Designer suit. Expensive handbag. Playing the part of a successful entrepreneur. She handed out business cards. Smiled. Made small talk. Then she saw me. Sitting at the table. With a name placard. Director of Grants. Her face changed. Shock. Confusion. Maybe fear. Cameron? What are you doing here? I work here. I am the Director of Grants. I review all loan applications. Including yours. She sat down slowly. Processing. You review applications? Yes. I have been in this role for 6 months. I evaluate funding requests. Make recommendations. Your application crossed my desk last week. I did not know. Most applicants do not. We do not advertise staff names. For privacy reasons. The room was quiet. Awkward. The other committee members looked between us. Sensing tension. History. Complication. I began the interview. Professionally. Asking standard questions. About her business plan. Her market research. Her financial projections. She answered. Competently. Nervously. Then I asked the hard questions. About her debt. Her credit cards. Her second mortgage. Why she needed a loan when her financial disclosures showed significant liabilities. She hesitated. We have had some unexpected expenses. Medical bills. Home repairs. We are working through them. But you are also taking expensive vacations. Driving new cars. Living in a large house. Those are choices. Not necessities. We have a certain lifestyle to maintain. Why? She looked at me. Surprised by the directness. Because that is what success looks like. Does it? Or is that what you want success to look like? Even if it means drowning in debt? She had no answer. Just sat there. Exposed. Vulnerable. The performance stripped away. I continued. This loan program is designed for underserved entrepreneurs. People who do not have access to traditional funding. Who face barriers because of their background. Their community. Their circumstances. You do not fit that profile. You have resources. You just mismanage them. So you are rejecting my application? I am saying I have concerns. The committee will make the final decision. But based on your financials, I cannot recommend approval. Because you are bitter. Because I said you would never have enough. Because you want revenge. No. Because you are a bad investment. Your debt-to-income ratio is unsustainable. Your business plan does not account for realistic challenges. And your motivation is not entrepreneurship. It is desperation. That is not what this program funds. The room was silent. The other committee members were taking notes. Evaluating. Agreeing with my assessment. I could see it on their faces. The interview ended. Patricia left. Shaken. Humiliated. The image she had built crumbling in front of strangers. In front of me. The committee met after she left. Discussed the application. The interview. The concerns. Everyone agreed. The risk was too high. The fit was wrong. The application should be denied. I drafted the rejection letter. Professional. Respectful. Explaining that while we appreciated her application, we could not approve funding at this time. We encouraged her to address her debt. Improve her financial stability. Reapply in the future if circumstances change. The letter went out 3 days later. She called the foundation immediately. Asked to speak with me. I took the call. Stayed professional. Why did you reject me? I explained the reasons. The debt. The risk. The mission fit. She argued. Said I was biased. That I was punishing her for comments at the family gathering. This is not personal. The committee voted unanimously. Your application did not meet our criteria. You have never had to struggle. You do not understand what it is like to need help. I laughed. Quietly. Bitterly. You are right. I have never had to struggle. Because I saved. Invested. Lived below my means. Built security. You chose differently. You chose to look wealthy rather than be wealthy. That is not my fault. You are enjoying this. Watching me fail. I am not enjoying anything. I am doing my job. Evaluating applications objectively. Protecting the foundation's resources. Your rejection has nothing to do with our family history and everything to do with your finances. She hung up. Angry. Hurt. Desperate. I felt nothing. No satisfaction. No guilt. Just professionalism. I had done my job. Made the right call. Protected the foundation. That was what mattered. Word spread through the family. Not from me. From Patricia. She told people I had rejected her loan. That I was vindictive. That I was using my position to hurt her. My mother called. Asked what happened. I explained. Objectively. About the application. The financials. The committee decision. She listened. Then said something unexpected. You did the right thing. Patricia has been living beyond her means for years. We all knew it. But no one wanted to say anything. Maybe this will wake her up. Maybe. Are you okay? With all this? I am fine. This is work. Not personal. But she is family. The family who mocked me. Who told me I would never have enough. Who dismissed my choices because they did not look impressive. I do not owe her anything. My mother was quiet. Then. I am proud of you. For building something. For succeeding on your own terms. For not needing to show off. Thank you. We talked for a while longer. About life. About choices. About what real success looked like. It was the most honest conversation we had had in years. A month later, I saw Patricia at another family gathering. Smaller. Just immediate family. Birthday party for my grandmother. She avoided me. Would not make eye contact. Stayed on the opposite side of the room. Fine by me. I was not there to confront her. Just there to celebrate Grandma. But near the end of the night, she approached. Reluctantly. Asked if we could talk privately. I agreed. We went to the backyard. Stood under the porch light. Awkward. Tense. I wanted to apologize. For what I said. At the reunion. About you never having enough. That was cruel. Yes. It was. I was wrong. About you. About your life. About what success means. You built something real. I just built an image. Why are you telling me this? Because I am losing everything. The house. The cars. The lifestyle. We cannot keep up. We are filing for bankruptcy. Starting over. And I realized. You had it right all along. I did not have it right. I just had different priorities. Priorities that worked. I thought about that. About whether my priorities worked or if I just got lucky. About whether her priorities were wrong or if she just executed poorly. About the difference between appearance and substance. What will you do now? Downsize. Get jobs. Real jobs. Pay off debt slowly. Live within our means. Basically, what you have been doing all along. It is not exciting. But it is stable. Stable sounds good right now. We stood in silence. Two people who had judged each other. Who had different definitions of success. Who were both learning that neither definition was complete. I hope it works out. Sincerely, she nodded. I walked back inside. I stayed outside for a while. Thinking. Processing. Feeling something close to compassion. Not for her choices. For her situation. For the reality that anyone can fall. Anyone can struggle. Anyone can be wrong. Even me. 2 years after rejecting my aunt's loan application, I was still at the foundation. Still evaluating grants. Still helping organizations. Still building wealth quietly. My investment portfolio had grown to over $400,000. Not because of my salary. Because of consistent investing. Smart decisions. Patience. The same approach I had used since I was 22. I bought a house. Small. 2 bedrooms. But mine. No longer renting. Building equity. Still living modestly. Still driving the old car. Still not needing to prove anything to anyone. My aunt and her husband had rebuilt. Slowly. Painfully. They sold the big house. Downsized to a townhouse. Sold the luxury cars. Bought reliable used ones. Got jobs. Paid off debt. Started living within their means. She worked at a department store. He worked at a smaller dealership. Not as managers. As employees. Humbling. Difficult. But necessary. At a family dinner one evening, we ended up sitting next to each other. Not by choice. Just how the seating worked out. We made small talk. Careful. Polite. Avoiding heavy topics. Then she said something unexpected. Thank you. For what? For rejecting my loan. If you had approved it, I would have failed. Lost even more. The rejection forced us to face reality. To stop pretending. To fix things properly. I was just doing my job. Maybe. But you also did me a favor. Even if it did not feel like it at the time. I nodded. Said nothing. Just accepted her gratitude. Her acknowledgement. Her growth. Can I ask you something? She looked at me. How did you do it? Build wealth on a nonprofit salary? Most people cannot. I lived below my means. Saved aggressively. Invested consistently. Did not spend on things I did not need. Prioritized security over appearance. That's simple. That's simple. But it's not easy. It requires discipline. Sacrifice. The willingness to be judged by people who think you are failing when you are actually succeeding. Like me. I judged you. Yes. Like you. She smiled sadly. I am sorry. For that. For everything. You were right. I was wrong. About what success looks like. About what matters. We were both wrong. About different things. But we both learned. The conversation ended there. No dramatic reconciliation. No grand gesture. Just acknowledgement. Understanding. The slow, difficult work of rebuilding respect. I thought about that night often. About my aunt telling me I would never have enough. About how wrong she was. About how right she was in a different way. I would never have enough by her standards. Enough flash. Enough show. Enough image. That was true. But I had enough by my own standards. Enough security. Enough freedom. Enough peace. That was all that mattered. She mocked me in front of my cousins. Whispered that I would always crawl. I laughed quietly inside. Keep building. Keep investing. Kept proving her wrong without needing to announce it. Later, she asked me for financial approval. Needed help from the person she dismissed. From the organization where I held power. From the position she never knew I had. I listened without emotion. Evaluated objectively. Made the right call. Protected the foundation. Taught her, unintentionally, a lesson about assumptions. About appearances. About the difference between looking successful and being successful. She could not breathe when she realized. When the performance crumbled. When the person she had dismissed was the one deciding her fate. That was not revenge. That was the consequence. The natural result of judging people without knowing them. Of valuing image over substance. Of assuming poverty because someone chose. Modest living. I never needed her to know I was succeeding. Never needed her approval. Never needed her to acknowledge I was right. But when she finally did, when the truth revealed itself, it felt like closure. Not victory. Just the quiet satisfaction of knowing I had built something real. Something that lasted. Something that mattered. While she had built something hollow. Something that collapsed. Something that taught her, painfully, what really mattered. We both learned. Just in different ways. Through different pain. Toward different versions of the same truth. Success is not about how things look. It is about how they feel. How they last. How they serve you when everything else falls away. I built that. Quietly. Humbly. Without needing to prove it to anyone. Until the moment when proof was required. And then, without malice, without satisfaction, I simply did my job. And that was enough.